Hello. Welcome to live stream. Nice to see you. To see you nice. I hope you're all having a good evening. It's really beautiful here after snowing for weeks. It's now like spring almost. Yeah. So we shall do our usual routine. So I'll just tell you about the routine. Oh, actually, my friend told me I don't need to say the routine every time. That you all know it. But basically, we are going to meditate for a little bit first of all. And then I shall talk about Nisargadatta Maharaj for a while. I thought I would talk about tonight. I don't know, it changes, you know, from now to the end of the meditation, it might be something else. So often in the beginning of talks, I like to do a meditation. And I always say that you can have the meditation however you like. So there's no specific way in which you have to meditate. Like whatever you do will be perfect. But I'll give some recommendations in case you've never meditated before. And you can even strip away the title of meditation. It's just sitting in silence, just something I really appreciate. Basically, there's 3 options that I give, but you can do whatever really. The first one is sitting in the I am. So it means that every time your mind drifts away from I am, you move it back to I am. But that's not for everyone because you firstly might not know what I am means, and secondly, it just might be too simple for you. Which makes it really complex. The next one is the mindfulness of breathing, which is counting your breath. So every time you breathe in, you ascend in numbers. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up to 10. And when you've got to number 10, you start at 1 again. And then the final one is just doing nothing. Just sitting there and letting your mind do whatever it wants. It's just called just sitting. So those are the different meditations, and we shall begin. We do my meditation bell. Hello. So now we can start to talk. So Nisargadatta Maharaj, I never met, and I've never actually read from cover to cover I Am That. So it's quite cheeky that I've put the title because I've never actually fully read it. I've read bits of it and listened to bits of the audio. But I only really like to listen to audios of people speaking about non-duality if it's actually them, because I think that non-duality is an energetic exchange, and it's just mental if somebody else is reading it. It doesn't. If you're reading it yourself, then there's maybe an intimacy with it, like those words on the page. But for me, you get interrupted by the speaker, like that brings all their stuff to it. So that's part of the reason. Yeah, so Nisargadatta Maharaj was the teacher of Ramana Maharshi, who was one of, not Ramana Maharshi, he was the teacher of Ramesh Balsaka, who was one of my teachers. And Roger Castillo was one of my teachers. Ramesh was a teacher of, he was my teacher as well, but like a line. And one thing that inadvertently was said a lot, even though I didn't really notice it at the time, was to keep the attention in the I am. So move the attention to the I am. And it occurred to me that maybe a lot of people here listening don't know what that is, but to keep the attention in the I am. Like maybe you don't know what the I am is. Maybe I don't really know what the I am is, as in it's all our verbal interpretations. Maybe my interpretation is completely different from what Nisargadatta Maharaj meant. To me, like people separate all these things out. So you've got nothing, you've got everything, you've got consciousness, the I am. And in the end, it's like one ball, it's one complete ball of energy. And you could say it's like one beingness, like one presence. And it has qualities. The quality to look, so the consciousness, and the consciousness is empty, and it has this alive presence, this sense of being, this sense of I am, this beingness, this amness, but that none come without the other. So if you're in a state of nothingness, there is nothing, so that never exists, so there's always everything, and with everything there is consciousness and a sense of being. So it's like they never come without each other. But in the end, they're not separate. It's all one energy. Like I hear some people talk about it so beautifully and eloquently separately. And then they kind of like put it together with the nothingness and the everythingness. And there's nothing that's really right. It's all pointers. It's like the finger pointing to the moon isn't the actual moon. So today I'm just going to home in on what my interpretation of the I am is. So Ramana Maharshi would say the I am comes from the left side of the heart, And I understand what he means, and I have a sweet sense of that, but it's also that's not the way it is, because the I am is also everywhere. So but I understand he means it's like it comes from love, it comes from that place in the human. Like I can feel that, and then I can also feel the emptiness. If you're going to place it in the body, it's sort of the lower chakra, it's like the sacral chakra. So it's like this finite and infinite point, so it's personal and completely impersonal, like the I am can only arise with the body. But it's prior to anything. It's prior to I am good, I am bad, I am right, I did this, I did that, I shouldn't have. It's this still presence that just is. And the suffering from the human comes when the I am and the consciousness, or the beingness, seemingly identifies with the person. So it's I am right, and there's identification in that. That's believed to be who you are, rather than a person appearing in who you are that is right. So you feel I am right, I am good, I am happy, I am sad, I am angry, I am enlightened, I'm not enlightened. And all these titles become you and become a story in time. And then there becomes by default a seeking energy, because it feels uncomfortable to be something that you're not. So it feels like you're fitting into a narrow vase in which actually your essence is infinite and finite. It's so big, it contains all opposites. So you could say it's beyond infinite. And Ramana Maharshi taught that you have to put your attention in the I am. So you have to move your attention into that sense of beingness, that sense that you are. So it's the thinking mind goes off into all these extrapolated lines of who you are and what you need and thoughts. And his practice, his teacher told him he has to just keep putting the attention in the I am. And I think then after 3 years he had a shift and an awakening. And I used to do that as well, automatically. That was what I followed, because it was being told to me inadvertently through Roger and through Ramesh. And I was doing it prior to that, but I was calling it this moment. You've got to put it into this, your attention into this moment. That was what the Buddhists taught me. And what it's doing is it's a practice for the person. But it's an illusion that there's actually somebody there that has free will and does things. So it's an appearance that that person does things. So you might think that you're putting your attention in the I am, but then the question would be, who is the one that's putting the attention in the I am? There is a functioning in the person that is doing this. And the great thing about doing it is it really calms down the person. It breaks useless thinking, and it breaks the seeking energy to an extent. And there is also some sort of freedom the person can feel when it puts itself in the I am, if it's not too weighed down with suffering. I am. I am. It's so exciting. But So that's the practice they recommend, but it also comes with the big warning sign that the idea that you're doing it is illusory. That which is doing it is being witnessed. It's being watched. So it's a good practice to do for the person, but whether it's done or not is not down to that individual person, because that individual person is a happening. There's something which is happening in space. The movement of the person is happening, the speaking is happening, the listening is happening, the consciousness is happening, the momentum is happening. But what we have as humans is this story that says, I am doing it. But who is this I? Who are you? Who is this I? So what's happening for most people is they're constantly caught up into this story of who they are. So there is a story in the head about how this person did something to you, or how that person did something to you, how this should have happened or not happened, or you want this or you don't want that. And then there's an emotional response that's happening in the body. And that's how most people live their whole life, is just focused on themselves. This character just focusing on itself and trying to get things and avoid things. But there's nothing to get and to avoid. That the person becomes obsessed that it will find a freedom in getting and avoiding. And that will give you increased pain or pleasure. If you have bad things happening to you, then it might be painful, or good things, it might give you increased pleasure. But it's not lasting. It doesn't last, this pain or pleasure. And so the person is always looking for something else that will just make it feel at home. But that home is the I am, that home is presence. But the person is always lost in a story of itself, which becomes an energy in the body, trying to get. And you can't undo that energy because you don't really exist. There seems to be an undoing of it, and there seems to be a practice that manifests for the person. But in the end, that's life, that's God. God has been orchestrating everything. You are a puppet, feeling like you have free will. So you move your arm and it feels like you move it, but it's actually happening. So say this complete surrender into this presence and allowing God to move every part of your body, which is love. Like the closer you come back to who you are, which is this moment, the more you're in contact with your essence, which is love, that God is expressing as a form of love now. Like my words are love, the computer is love, the hum of the computer, the sound of the radiators, the colours, the light, everything is an act of love when it's known to be coming from this moment, coming from this I am, from the heart of being. But when everything is coming from a story, then you're emotionally bound to that story, you're tied up in knots by that story. And the predominant factor to the story is I am separate from everything else, which isn't true. There's nobody that is separate from everybody else. There is nobody. But this person keeps telling its story in time. I have to do this, I have to do that, this is right, this is wrong. Where does all of this come from now? It's total forgiveness as well, to everyone and everything. Like they didn't do it, life did it. You didn't do it, life did it. There's nothing you ever done. There's nothing you're ever gonna do. It feels like you make the choice, but the choices are happening. Why are you cutting off from what's actually happening? Why are you cutting off from feelings and thoughts and going into these stories? It's simply training. The person believes it's not allowed to experience something, it's not allowed to feel something. It shouldn't be something. It's not allowed to get what it wants in this moment. It should be something else. There's such unconscious thoughts going on. And then the mind can't handle it, the storyteller can't handle it, so it shifts into different stories, fixating on things that echo the deep neurological and psychological stories. So if you feel like you're not allowed to get what you want deep down, then it always focus on people that are taking away from you what you want. I should have this, I should have that, but this person did that. Or if you feel that you're not good enough, then it will keep manifesting in situations where you're not good enough. Maybe your job doesn't reflect your skills. Maybe you never had ambition because of this feeling not good enough. And then your mind makes stories about it. It's because society is corrupt and I didn't have the opportunity because my parents screwed me up. Rather than just the vulnerability of what's being experienced now. And just allowing it to come and go in that beingness. That beingness is what's wiping everything clean. It's the freedom. That's what's always here. Who is it that's here? Who is it that's experiencing? Okay, we go to questions today. Now. Hey, SP. Hi, Matisse. Hi, Lisa. It's good to see you again. My girlfriend and I have split. It was a toxic relationship. I was playing the savior and she was playing the victim and so on. I feel without energy for more than 3 months now, and still my thoughts are looking for her, trying to build endless stories about how she feels and if she misses me or not. I've been meditating for so long and now I see that I'm very distracted all the time. Could you please tell me what is you're seeing on this? Hey Matisse, thank you for your question. So you can't really judge. You say, I see that I'm very distracted all the time. You're currently very distracted. But you can't say that's the way it was for your whole life because you don't know. It's so hard to compare our whole life. So the reason that you're very distracted currently is because there has been fundamental stories that have been ignited. So I don't know what those fundamental stories are, but I'll just give a guess so we can talk about it, because you're not speaking back. But underneath, you might feel totally alone. You might feel unlovable if you're not playing the savior. You may feel hopeless. You maybe feel angry or feel blame towards her. You maybe feel you've been victimized by the situation. There could be all variety of deep stories in your energy body, which will be deep in your system and you'll also be carrying in your body. And so what it will do is manifest as seeking on the surface. So your mind will seek to think about her, to daydream about her, to do all different types of things. And then it will most probably seem impossible to stay present because you're kind of like going up against a massive waterfall. Trying to swim up like a really fast running river. Because underneath there is deep pain. There are stories that have been triggered that are very deep in you. And then on the surface there is a desperate attempt to make sense of that, to not do that again, and to try to feel better right now. So there's two different things you can do, is trying to emotionally release the energy from your body by recognizing where it is you feel it in your body, what the deep thoughts are. So if it's in the solar plexus, it might be hopelessness, exhaustion, depression. So try to recognize where it is in the body. See that it's not true, that it's just a feeling that's arising. And then you could do different exercises to try to relax it and to relieve it. There's stuff on my website on the reference page under the chakra section that you could do. And then just in noticing it, it will change. Just in becoming conscious of these deep-rooted stories, you can also begin to connect them to where you picked up those stories. If there was a place in the past that you picked the stories up, from your parents, from your schooling, from your first relationship. So connecting them. And then when they're not so intense, you can also put them in the positive. Not because you want your chakras always in the positive, they're just the opposite side of the coin, but it's just trying to pull that vibration out of the suffering, very, very painful dynamic. Most people spend their whole life in negativity of the chakras. So the opposite, if it was the solar plexus, in the negative, the solar plexus is feeling like you can't do something, feeling like you're hopeless, feeling like nothing works, that you have no choices, that you're stuck, depression, frustration, and anger. And in the positive, it's feeling like you can do something, like anything is possible, that feeling vitalized, feeling like you want to do things, feeling like you have choices and you have options, feeling empowered. So if So once you've got it to a certain level and a certain understanding, then you can start telling yourself positive affirmations to try and lift it out. So imagining where you're powerful. If you're really strong at running, imagine yourself running up a hill. And lifting the energy consciously into the positive. Or just saying the positive affirmations. I am strong, I am capable, I can choose, I have choices, I know what I want. So that's one thing. And then the other is moving your attention to presence. And you just oscillate between doing the different things. So moving your attention to the I am. And then when it's too strong, you look at the emotion. Because when you are going through a lot of emotional upheaval, then moving your attention to the I am is kind of really difficult. So it's oscillating between these two. Not spending too much time in the emotions, but at the same time, if it's too difficult to put your attention in presence, then giving the emotion space, or the story space. And as you do it, just ask yourself, who is it that's doing it? Who is this separate person that you believe is doing these practices? And come to see that there is nobody doing these things. Hi Isabel, I love you. Hi Carla. Hi Carmela. I started reading the I Am That again last month. It is so powerful and direct, mind-blowing in the best way. I really appreciate hearing how you perceive Nisargadatta's pointings. Love and gratitude to you. Oh, love and gratitude to you, Carmela. It's lovely. Hi Pauline. Everything is love. Everything is an expression of God. Thank you so much, Lisa. As long as it is not fully recognized and integrated, by that I mean not just intellectually but also in the whole body, it is a bliss to hear it, to be reminded. When you wear glasses, we cannot see your eyes. There is light and reflection from the computer, and through your eyes, I personally feel a lot of energy going through the screen to me. Hey, yeah. Oh, sorry about that, Pauline. I don't know if that's true. That could be your imagination, but I don't know. Could be also. I can take off my glasses. Sometimes I just wear my glasses so not to lose them. I don't need them all the time, but they help me with the screen, not getting too tired. Hi Lisa, thank you for the meditation. I noticed there was a blackbird singing outside your house during the meditation. It sounded divine. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, there were lots of birds. I think it was just at dusk, so they were all in the element. Yeah, I can't believe it. It's like 15. It was like -9 a week and a half ago. It killed my car battery. It was on the way out anyway, but it polished it off. Hey, Nick. Hi, Lisa. How to understand I amness in non-duality if there is no I am, according to non-duality teaching? Thank you. Hi, Malagorzarat. That is a long name. I'm so sorry I mispronounce it. Malagorzaz. I'm sorry. I would love to be able to pronounce everybody's name correctly. So I think that that question is very intellectual, even though it might sound like it's not. I think it is. Because there is no I amness. Like all there is beingness. But we're just breaking it down into different sections just to be able to talk about something. But you're right, there is no amness. There is just beingness. That's everywhere. This life experiencing itself, and it's undescribable. It's unknowable. It's complete not knowing, but yet it's experiencing. But who cares about the words? In the beginning, I think I used to be so much more adherent to a particular way of speaking. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Who is it that's speaking? Who is it that's listening? Oh, so if you want to call in, just put call me so I can see it. I do take preference to calls, but I forgot to say that. So put call me. Call me. Yeah, sorry I mentioned that, but it's not that important. Oh, okay, Pauline. That's okay. You said it in a nice way. It didn't feel energetically uncomfortable. Hi, Lisa. Thanks for the talks. They are so helpful. Oh, that's a pleasure, Ranko. Hi, Matisse. Deep pain. Yes, I've just let space for the emotions. It's in my chest. Old stories, yeah. You touch my heart. I feel better now. I practice I am and will again. Thank you, Lisa. Thanks, Matisse. Don't know if you guys heard that. Khaleesi had a windy pop. Normally dogs don't have very loud windy pops, but that was certainly a little grumble, wasn't it? Hi, Maria. Hi, Lisa. Hope you're well. Thank you for reminding me about I am that. It was one of the first things I stumbled upon that brought me to the topic of non-duality. So it feels, oof, how it came over. Oof. So it feels very special. My question is about climate change. The topic feels so big and complicated. The extreme storms and power outages in the United States happening now also makes it feel very real. How to deal with the reality of climate change, but also remember that my thoughts about it are not reality. It feels very difficult for me with this topic. Thank you. Yeah. So in the end, we are all going to die, and it might be that humans aid themselves to wipe themselves out. They have a big part in that. I mean, it's just crazy, the amount of recycling I personally go through, and I try my best to pick products with little recycling and go to local stores so it's not in plastic and stuff. But it builds up, eh? I mean, it's crazy that we're living in a society where we don't take our own Tupperwares to the store, that we get things in packaging. And we can change really radically because we're discovering that from I'm going to get my video banned from the problem we're having in society at the moment. We can change really rapidly. So we can suddenly all go into lockdown, and everyone can do it. So we could have this really sharp change in climate change. But to be honest, I think with 8 billion humans, unless we invent new technologies, I don't know if it is sustainable for 8 billion humans. Like, that's a lot of humans. It's so funny. People are always telling me I'm not pro-vaccine. And people are always, please don't let that influence you. I would never feel like I could influence you on that subject. It's so personal. But I feel like if you're healthy enough, then you should try your best not to take these medications and get your body to digest the illness. Like when I went to India, the first couple of times I was so ill, and then I learned, I've been to India about 17 times, I learned that I had to adjust to my environment slowly. So when I first arrived in India, I would like sip the water, like take tiny little sips, and then each day I'll get a bit more and a bit more until I was swirling it around in my mouth, and etc. And slowly branching out into different foods. And I feel like that's the same with illnesses we have in a society. We need to build up our own immunity to it, and making ourselves really clean, and our government giving the immunity through some injection isn't the wise way to go. I understand that it's the way society's going, and for our current pandemic, and that's totally down to society's choice. And if society tells me I have to take a vaccine, then I'm not going to go to prison for not taking one. And more than likely, I'm going to have to take it more than everyone because my mum lives in a different country from me and they're going to do like vaccine passports or something. And I'm not going to stop doing that. But personally, I would try, if you feel you can, like try your best to like deal with illnesses without the government giving you stuff to get over the illnesses. That's my perspective on it. And then if you can't, then you can take the government stuff. But if you can, I don't see the point in taking it if you can build up your own immunity. But that's the way society goes. So what was my point to that? Oh man, about global warming. Oh yeah. And so people argue with me, but you don't understand how amazing vaccines have been because they've wiped out all illnesses. And the ironic thing is they're most probably right. Like, we've made ourselves sicker as a nation. I think we have more mental illness, more autoimmune diseases from all the medications that we're taking. Like, I think we've made ourselves sicker. But we've made ourselves live longer, we've made ourselves sicker, so we're not so resilient, and a lot of people are medicated. And then we've also made ourselves like really strong population. But then if you look at it from the other side, which I'm sure you're really not allowed to say from a PC perspective, is we're now at 8 billion people. And I don't think that our planet can handle 8 billion people. So yeah, vaccines, I understand how horrific it must be to get an illness which wipes out like half your community and half your family. That must be horrific. And you're desperate for the government to find a vaccine to stop that. But then what are we heading towards with 8 billion people on the planet? We have to invent technologies that send us up into space or that makes us like uber sustainable if we're going to have this amount of people. I don't know how we do it. I don't have the answers, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't have vaccine and so people should die or anything to bring down the numbers. I'm not saying that. You could argue I'm saying that. I'm not actually. I don't know the answer to it. But we're now at 8 billion people, I think. And then, in order for us to eat, we eat cows and chickens. So then not only are we 8 billion humans, but then we make all this, we create all this other life to eat. Like, so we create all these, like, so if there's 8 billion of us, and some people are eating meat every day. I used to have friends that ate meat 3 times a day. So they're eating that much meat. Then we have to grow crops for those animals. So rather than us just growing the crops and us eating the crops, we grow these crops, we feed these animals, and then we kill these animals and eat these animals. I think it's something like an insane amount of animals that we currently have in the meat industry that we're keeping alive. So it's like, I mean, how can our planet survive on this? Like, not only are we 8 billion, but we're creating all this food and crops for ourselves, then we're creating it for all these animals that we eat. Yeah. And then we're creating a disproportionate amount of animals alive that suit us, that whether it be cows or pigs or chickens. But I don't know the answer to it. I don't know the answer to it. It's a really complex subject. What I do know from this last year is I see that we can really radically adapt very quickly. So we can adapt if we decided that we wanted to do something about it. But because it's not imminent, it's too hard for us somehow to adapt. It's an interesting subject. But in the end, if you're suffering over it, then it's absolutely pointless thinking about it. If you're suffering about something, you're creating negative energy which goes into our society. So we're all like a collective being. Like we kind of like think of ourselves as independent entities, but we're actually like the is it sparrow murmurations? Murmurations. We're like those birds, you know, that move as one. And we are actually like that as society. We're not actually working independently, and we're all like connected to each other energetically. Like through non-verbal means. We think we're only connected verbally, but there's energetic ways in which we're connected. Like if you look from bird's eye point of view down into humanity, we look like ants. We look so organized, like it's happening like magic. It is happening like magic. And so if you're having negative thoughts about it, you're putting that negativity into society. And if you want society to change, society's got to be optimistic and open to possibilities, and then it will change for the better. So it's like, so if we force change through hatred or anger or protest against family or protest against abuse, then that's what you're going to create more of. So in the end, you want to create change through positivity, because then that energetically will be the energy in which you're moving into. And a lot of our change currently as humanity comes through fighting and through suppression, whereas it's a vibration that it's got to change through, like a positive vibration. It's not even like positive words, so it's not even having like a president that's really like left wing and like everyone's included, because they might come from abuse and they might come from suppression, and then they're fighting against that, and that's not right either. It's like an energy of love. It's a very dangerous topic, this, because unless we attach someone up to an MRI, or unless we have people that are really meditated or really gone deep into the subject, then how do we know when someone's coming from love? But if somebody's coming from love, then everything they do is positivity, is really beautiful. I remember watching this organization. It's so dangerous, these concepts. I'm not saying it's not, it is. Because I remember watching this organization, and the leader, you know, did outrageous things, but he said it came from God, it came from love. And I kind of understood that as well, because it's like, that love is so beautiful. I don't know if he did or not, like maybe he came from greed or selfishness. But that love is so beautiful. And everything that comes from that is perfection. Even if that person is doing something out of an old trauma, like their body is acting out an old trauma, if energetically they're coming from love, then it's really healing and beautiful. And it's that trauma working its way out of that body. So it's not even if something comes from a trauma, it's still, from a deeper level, can be coming from love. That's so confusing. I can't possibly put this into the intellect correctly, and it could just sound awful and be interpreted in all types of wrong ways. And society really doesn't understand that, because we don't look at the most important part of us is vibration. Like when you're meeting someone, it's vibration. It's like, what are you vibrating? We concentrate a lot on behavior, which is great to understand behavior and understand human behavior, but the most important part is below that. It's like this vibration of love, which comes from emptiness and the I amness. And this guy ended up going to prison for 9 years, I think, the leader of the cult. because God told him to lay naked with two pubescent girls. He didn't have sex with them or anything, he just laid naked with them. See, it gets really complex, this subject. Thanks, Maria, for your question. It sparked off a lot. Call me.
Hello.
Hello. Hey, Kevin.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi.
So I like the topic of today.
Yeah.
I am that.
Yeah.
So in these days, I'm really deepening my practice. And so before asking the question, uh, I want to ask with I am that, what is that we are actually pointing to? We are pointing to that awareness, or are we pointing to something that is beyond that? Some teacher call it the absolute infinity. I wanted to know if you make this distinction in order to ask a proper question.
Depends on who or what I'm speaking to, whether I make the distinctions.
Yeah, so would be saying that I am that is referred to absolute infinity. Are these words that resonate with you?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So right now, I feel that in my experience in meditation, I still feel like there is a strong person, right?
Mm.
But the good thing is that this person has a lot of discipline, a lot of willingness to dissolve more and more the person itself. So, uh, and I feel like I'm really attracted to this path because I feel like this is the only reason why I'm alive, to dissolve the person. Because if I don't dissolve it, I feel like I am polluting. I feel like I'm polluting the planet just by being a person. Not because I am a bad person, but because I know that once that this person is dissolved, there is going to be like much more light streaming through this entity.
Mm.
And so yeah, it's funny because at the end every question is kind of the same question, but I feel like I'm hoping to get some inspiration for the path from you, Lisa. And I would like to know uh, what is the precise way to dissolve this person. I'm dedicating right now almost like 3 hours per day for my practice during my daily life.
Mm.
I'm always trying to maintain this awareness in interactions, in challenges that happen. So, what would you think is uh, a precise way to dissolve this identity.
I think that question is twofold, or the answer is twofold for me. So I think everybody's path is unique.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that I could possibly tell you what your path is.
Mm-hmm.
Like for Nisargadatta Maharaj, he spent 3 years, he listened to his teacher and he spent 3 years putting his attention into the I am.
Mm-hmm.
And then for Ramesh, he was Nisargadatta's translator. And through years of translating for him, the shift happened. I can't remember Ramesh's story actually. And then for myself, it was like losing a lot of things. It was like intense practice for 10 years, doing all different types of things. And then losing lots of things and just really surrendering to that. Like really recognizing no matter where I was, no matter what I was doing, it was the same presence.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
and that's really unique to everybody. I think that the most important part is your heart being in the right place.
Mm-hmm.
Like the being a true calling for waking up. And then I think if that's in the right place, if that energy is really vibrating through your body, then for sure there will be a shift.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the most important part. And then secondly, the second part to that question would be, who is this one that believes it has a path?
Yeah.
And has to arrive somewhere.
Yeah, that's just a thought, right? It's a thought that I project every moment. It's from
And
this thought is arising this question also.
Yeah, and then you have like an image, like of this character disappearing and what that looks like, and it just doesn't look like what you imagine it to be.
Yeah.
So it's like all images of your arrived destination, isn't it? Like what it is presence, is what you are, is nothing appearing as everything.
Yeah. Yeah, this last thing that you said hit to the point, because even the place from which this question is coming from is this attachment in itself into
And the story of you. It doesn't mean that you don't get up and you do your practices, but you do them just wholeheartedly, and you don't know what the outcome is. The outcome is irrelevant. What's important is the action. Like if you're doing the meditation, like that's what's important. If you're cutting the vegetables, that's what's important. If you're speaking to me, this is what's important. The image of your destination is always a distraction. It's always a hope for something better, which picks the vibration of the solar plexus up. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's just seeing that it doesn't have truth. The truth is what you are now, which is presence.
Yeah, this already brought a lot of relief
Oh, nice.
to the So I liked what you said before about vibration and what's happening right now in the planet. And as a thought experiment, if majority of the people in the planet will realize that we are that, what would you think could happen collectively in our political structure, in the way that we handle life in society? What do you think would happen if everybody in society would realize this?
It should just be completely different.
Yeah.
Everything would be based on trust and love and expansion. At the moment, most is based on fear, contraction, and avoidance.
Yeah.
And this is the way out of any problem is always towards love and expansion. It's not towards mind. It's not towards avoidance. It's not towards the easy way out. Because everything is a vibration. So maybe you fix a situation, maybe the well is leaking and you fix it, but you've done it with lots of hate and lots of anger and lots of annoyance, then that's what will come forward.
Yeah.
Like everything is energy in the apparent cause and effect. It's energy that we put in. Like everything is kind of mind-made. So it's like a dream at night. Like if you're having a very fearful dream, the way to change the dream is to suddenly realize you're having a dream and to change your mind in the dream. But if you just carry on doing everything out of fear, then it's just you're endlessly going off into fear. And it's the same with this dream as well.
Yeah, it is really true. Out of curiosity, have you ever read or heard about the law of one?
Yeah, I have, yeah.
Do you have any thoughts about it or any impression?
I just read so many books and listened to so many things. I can't remember exactly what they say, but I think they talk a lot about a law of attraction in the law of one.
The law of one, I think, is I don't think it really talks so much about law of attraction, but what I really like about is that so I don't know how many if you are if you resonate with the concept of channeling. And
I'm not opposed to it. Yeah, I know they're channeling future beings, aren't they? In it, or one future being.
Yeah. So
the person that wrote it's like channeled someone.
Yeah. They talked that they are channeling a group of entities that, from what they share, they are living in a higher dimension than us. So, and in the dimension where they live, every entity has realized that they are that, and so they share a different perspective that are all in alignment with the teaching that you share, and yeah, it is just interesting because it can give this greater cosmology of our evolutionary path and where we're going to, because I believe that it is great that an individual can awaken, like it happened to many masters, like it happened to you. And I think that would be really interesting to see what happened when the entire reality awakened, like every individual, and when the planet itself awakened, to see what reflection we're gonna have of that, how life will be. I think will be really different, but we cannot really imagine it with the mind. So hopefully, looking forward to that.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
Nice.
So thank you, Lisa, for your time. It was a inspiration because you pointed to this little attachment that I had toward the, and I can just take it more easy, I guess.
Nice. Thank you. Lovely to speak with you, Kevin. Bye. Lucas, how did you feel when your dog was barking? I don't know the name. Barked the first time. Like nothing. She barks often. Regarding the future of humanity with more extreme climate, etc., the technology is already there, but the systems of how our society is structured are not designed for that. So much identity is connected to the current system and the values that represent it. Yeah, I think it really has to come through technologies if we're going to reverse it. So this is David, I'm going to call. I try not to give people a fright, give them a little tiny moment warning.
Hey, Lisa.
Hey, David.
Hello.
Hello.
I guess that I lost the video, so I guess that that is automatic, meaning that I won't be able to see it while we talk.
Yeah, that's correct. You can look on YouTube, okay. But it will be slightly behind.
Oh, not a problem there. I just kind of like wanted that energetic transference. But first, I just want to thank you for being here, and I've been listening to you for many years, and we've talked once or twice through a session as well. So it always resonates, and I appreciate the humor. I appreciate the silliness. It just reminds me not to take myself too seriously.
Nice.
Yeah. Anyways, you know what they say, that when one is connected, all questions really disappear.
Yeah.
That said, it's kind of interesting that the topic today is about let me see if I can say it. Nisargadatta Maharaj, right? Did I say it right?
I think so. I mean, I'm not the one to ask my dyslexia, but I think it's Nisargadatta Maharaj.
Oh, okay.
But you almost got it right. I think you just missed maybe a G or a T or something.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I am that, and yeah, I think I've previously read some of that. So I'm saying that it's kind of like interesting is because I'm currently reading a book by Gaitonde Mohan, who is translating Self-Love, the Original Dream from Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj. So direct pointers to reality. And let me see if I can do this. Oh, I can't even write to you as we speak. Sorry, just 1 second. I want to see if I can do this. No, I can't. Okay, I wanted to write to you some of what I read, and to to have you share your thoughts on it. But and so the synopsis is that he talks about, and in quotes, the world always appears to be very old to the one who cognizes it. In reality, the world has appeared with your consciousness. The world is known because of you, and it resides within you. Just as a web is created by the saliva of a spider, the world is a creation of your own light. But you believe that you exist in the light of the world, which is the cause of your bondage. In reality, the world appears in your light. So I guess it's kind of like, it goes on, the individual soul believes that its existence depends upon the world that is seen, but in fact it is otherwise. The experience of the world depends upon it. You are all that exists. I don't know. So kind of like to talk about the shift in perspective, in perception, and that what they talk also about is the suffering is because of the sense of separation. Excuse me, the sense of separation. And so with this kind of like, it's really cognitive. In other words, it's a mind thing here. It's like a mind band. But can you shed some light on this perception? Just to clarify, whether the world exists, the world is old,
The world is old to somebody that keeps looking at it through time. When you look at life through time, then you're always seeing your past images of it. So you're seeing a tired image, you're not seeing something fresh. So it's like with lovers or with your partner, to really love your partner, you can only see them now. But most people see their partner as their story that they've been in the past, their story of what they've done wrong, what they've done right, who they are, their behavior, and what they're going to be in the future. And that's a dead story. That's not true.
That's a trap that I find myself all the time in, including relationships where I cognize and judge and all that. So
and that's
that kind of like creates a barrier.
That's a dead story. Like, that's not alive. What's alive is this. Like, what's alive is this moment.
Yes.
And this is like when you see someone as mystery, when you see someone as freedom, as this moment, as infinite possibility, that's when you truly love them. They're not as what they've done, not as what they're going to do, not as what you're going to do, not what you can get from them, but just as this, totally unconditioned. And you see that, you recognize there is a character for sure, but beyond that, that is where you truly meet. That's who they truly are. And that's the same with the whole of life. Like, the reason that people feel disconnected is because they're looking at life through a story of what they know and their childhood traumas and their childhood ways of being, rather than what it actually is. And then this creates seeking, which is more mental activity. Like, right now, this is fresh. This is mysterious.
Which brings me to the next point. Can this be cultivated? And the only time that I experienced it is through deep meditation, where everything disappears and just it's indescribable because there's nothing there. It's just this. And it's just this incredible joy, joy without any reason, bliss without any reason. But once I go back to, day-to-day life, I feel like I'm being bombarded with, all that stuff. All that, pain, the suffering and the judgments and the worry and the fears and the what ifs, it bombards me, the mind just goes, wants that revenge of its time taken away by meditation, so to speak.
Yeah. I really enjoy talking to you, but when I talk with someone, I find it a little bit hard when, and I'm just as guilty of this, because we're like one energy, and right now we're creating one energy, which is one dance between us. And I'm just putting out a request that we just, would it be possible if we just give each other more space between the end of what we say and then the next person speaking?
Oh yes, sure, absolutely.
I can do that too, but I could feel a little bit like we were interrupting each other, and then it's like you don't know who interrupts first. So you get to this
because I want to get in as much as I can.
Yeah. And then
so
I want to finish what I say, so I carry on too, because otherwise I forget it. So, but it's two people, it's not just you. But if we could just give each other a bit more space, that would just be easier for me in the communication.
Absolutely.
Danke, I appreciate it. So what was your last question? I forgot now after saying that. Or your last comment?
I believe that my last comment was that that energy of mundane life, or let's call it mundane life, call the troubles of life, or the characteristics of the personality can be so overwhelming that it almost wants to take control.
Yeah, totally.
And last but not least, I just want to say that I always get back to my belief that in the end, it's really grace, and that shift cannot be forced. I know that you're mentioning a lot of times you talk about the shift and that the human part cannot force that. And so it is really surrender, and surrender cannot be forced either. So, and I do find myself fighting so hard and seeking so desperately that it's kind of like that merry-go-round where I get, the suffering is so acute that I am forced to surrender, and I get the relief for a while until I start seeking again. And it's like that vicious cycle. I think that it may have to do with pain body and a lot of old stuff.
And presence. So the most important part is becoming present to it, but it's not somebody's job to become present. It's the way things are. It's noticing that your essence, that which you truly are, is always here and experiencing. And when there begins to be more presence, so it might seem like it's an activity of the person putting its attention in presence, then you become more astute to what's actually being felt in the body. So it seems to go through these stages that you become more present, and then you begin to perceive how your body is responding to the world, and you're not trying to avoid it. So there can be all types of feelings that are happening very rapidly. You can interact with someone and then there can be discomfort. There can be an image of a past lover and then there can be discomfort. And none of that's inherently wrong. It's the difficulty of it, and the suffering comes when you try to seek through time to avoid that. So you have an uncomfortable feeling, you have a longing come up, you have a desire come up, and then the mind tries to go into imagination and into thinking and into time, or into activity, or into browsing the internet to avoid what's actually being experienced. So it's all really coming back to what's actually happening now. And it sounds like it's an activity, and maybe it is partially an activity in the beginning because the person thinks it's a doer. But eventually it's seen that who you are is present. Who you are has always been present, and then there's a shift of energy which goes back to presence, and it's a natural way of being. But it's really bringing everything in, like, what are you feeling now? What do your toes feel now? What does your heart feel now? What does your solar plexus and your sacral chakra feel now, or your back feel like now? And the deeper you go into that, the more you'll realize that that isn't separate from everything else. There is no body versus the world. So if you've got pain in the solar plexus chakra, when you really pay attention to it, you realize that the whole world is that pain. It's not separate from the world. If you've, like with your feet now, it feels like they're stuck on the end of your body, and your end of your body is somewhere in space and time. But when you really pay attention to it, you realize that the feet and the world aren't separate from each other, and the feet aren't a particular size and don't have a boundary. That's all mind made. you're making up this image of you that's a particular size, that's interacting with the world. And freedom is the end of avoiding what you actually are in every moment. But it's not really an activity. It's a recognition, then an energetic shift. But it maybe seems like an activity in the beginning, like you become more conscious of yourself. You're putting your personal awareness in the I am. You're paying attention to your body. You're paying attention to the stories which go into elongated seeking. And the fundamental part to it is that there is nothing in time that will free you. The I am, this emptiness, this vastness, this mystery, which is now, is the freedom, not the story, not the intellect.
Yeah, it keeps going back and forth. I find myself many a time in that space, and that keeps, maybe that is the process. I think Eckhart Tolle talks about the momentum will still even if there is some realization, the momentum of the, I don't know, call it small self, or call it the ego, or call it the pain body, will not just automatically stop. I wish that it would, but sort of like has its momentum. And, I think you also talk about, constantly trying to go, lose oneself and go back to presence, bring self back to presence.
Knowing deeply that it's not your activity, because whose activity would that be? There isn't actually an inherent you there.
Well, currently it may just be a concept, like to talk about the difference between the seeing and the seer, and that I am really the seer. But I don't know if it's, I doubt that it's yet realized, versus, being just a concept, trying to go for that seer, thinking that seer is in the back of the head, trying to go to that place, or by process of elimination, meaning, seeing everything that is and saying, it is not that.
No, it's not that. I was going to say it's not that, it's this, but that's kind of really funny. Not that, it's this. It kind of really made sense. I was really yeah.
Which that are we talking about?
Yeah. You could turn it into like a rap, not a rap song, like a trance song. Not this, not that, not this, not that. It is this, it is that. Nice.
Who cares?
Yeah. Now here we are. Yeah. Nice. Oh, well, thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed your questions and your quote. And thank you for giving me more space. I needed that tonight. Thank you.
Thank you for trusting me and being open.
Oh, yeah, thanks.
Okay. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
Bye.
I'd so appreciated where you can say, you can put out a request of what you want to someone and someone can hear that. Like, it's so impersonal. Often when we hear requests from people, we take it personally and then we get defensive. But it's so impersonal. It's beautiful. So thank you for that, David. Okay, I'll just read one more written question and then that's enough for today. Hi, Hassan. Rob says, call me lots of love, Rob. Oh yeah, I would, but it's a bit late now. I just take another written question and then finish. But thanks, Rob, and sending you lots of love. And you know, there was something that I saw the other day where I thought of you. It was about, it was on the BBC, and it was about how Norway are from the government. Norway is so progressive. The government is offering people, rather than taking medication for mental illness, it's offering people alternative ways to deal with mental health issues. And it was a story on the BBC. I don't know if I can find it again, but maybe you can look it up. Like, it's Norway and alternative ways to deal with mental illness rather than being medicated. So the government now is offering that to patients. You know, they can take the drugs, or there can be other ways to deal with it. I thought that was amazing. And I thought of you and I meant to send it, but then I just get so overwhelmed sometimes with all my paperwork. I get in a muddle. Hey, Dennis. Hi, Lisa. True or not true? Whatever I am doing right now in this present moment is the most important thing in the world. Your friend in Kentucky. True. This is it. That's the most important thing. That's beautiful. Like, this is the freedom. It's not going to the church. It's not going to the altar. It's not this destination in the future. It's what you're actually doing right now. This is where you disappear. And this is where love is. Nice. Thanks, Dennis. Hi, Julie. Hi, Wolfgang. Hi, Lisa. This is the first time I've listened to your talk. Nice meeting you. Thank you. Oh, thank Wolfgang. Nice. Welcome. Isabel. Oh, beautiful. The murmurations. There is something I have to say. Oh, yeah, somebody was asking me earlier if I'm going to change and start doing it to Zoom. And I actually think that this is a superior way of doing it. And I don't mean that there's anything wrong with Zoom, but I'm doing it through a special broadcasting system, which should make it better quality than Zoom. I don't think that you've got much ability to manipulate it or program it. But it's funny because everyone does live streams through Zoom. That's what you're used to now. And I've never actually done one, so I don't know what it looks like. But maybe you can all see each other and all interact. And maybe that's what people enjoy. Yeah, I do like this system. But maybe it is time to keep up with other people and see what they're doing. But I really like this system, and I really like OBS, which I use as well. I don't always get it right, as you might all know. I mess it up. And when I get better internet, I can actually start sending out higher definition. God, I'm looking very yellow tonight. It's funny, the different colors. Okay. I wish you all a beautiful evening, and I wish you everything. Yeah, everything. I shall see you next Sunday.